cup of coffee is an important first step of the day for many of us, but how your coffee is made can make all the difference.
Okay, so then why start with coffee? Was it the wood-fired part that you liked first, or was it the coffee that you liked first? Like, how did that all begin?
Well, definitely we love the coffee first. And I was working in a corporate job. Jeff was working, he was a general contractor. And we decided, you know, what are we going to do as we're getting older? We want to do something that's fun. We want something that's healthful. We want something that our family can do. And so we're doing it all together just as a family.
And they have roasting down to a science, using a wood-fired method to cook every bean.
They don't draw in the smoke when they're in the roaster. They're actually off-gassing as they're roasting in that drum. And so you're not going to get any kind of smoky flavor in the bean themselves.
Bohemian Roastery started with the roaster itself, and after a few trips up and down the West Coast, Shelley and Jeff settled the business and the coffee shop in Central Oregon.
Then we decided to pivot into exclusively roasting coffee and see how that worked, and it has done really well, so we're just continuing on with it. With this business plan, we've kept all of our equipment. We may open the coffee shop again.
The roaster was built by Jeff, and yeah, it's an old barbecue frame. Their son Jacob is one of the roaster operators and has to stay on a strict timeline for optimum flavor.
Oh my gosh, they smell so good. Smell-o-vision. So it just goes from, what do you call what you just used to shake them out? What's that called?
This?
Yeah.
This is our cooling tray. So when we roast the beans, they're super hot and they'll keep roasting. So we throw them on this cooling tray and there's a fan underneath and above, and that cools them off faster so that they stop roasting when we want them to. It's a very small amount of time where you want them to be hot and then, and then cool down.
Well, and it's like by the seconds. I mean, you have this timer over here that is by the seconds.
Yeah.
And right before we started filming, you were like, I need to do this in 2 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 2 seconds can be, too dark
Right.
if they're cracking really fast because we go by sound. So this one, as soon as the second crack starts, we pull it out, and then there's a couple seconds to get it cool.
A cylinder inside the roaster is cranking out small batch coffee by the pounds.
It depends on the temperature. So right now we got it running really hot, so it'll roughly 14-15 minutes for a medium to dark roast. A little bit longer for the darker roasts and a little bit less for the lighter.
So do you have different temperatures for different roasts too?
It gets a little hotter sometimes, but then we let out some of the heat by just this method right here.
Just fanning it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so everything's done at the same temperature. That kind of makes it not simple. This is definitely an involved process, but that makes it easier in terms of you're not adjusting the temperature for each different roast. And
After some trial and error, the roaster, or Frankenstein as it's lovingly called, lets you know it's done when you hear a crack, but you also have to use other senses too. The Acres say the best way to drink their coffee is to grind the beans right before you brew your cup.
cheers, really.
Cheers.
It's full. That's, it's like having a cup of coffee that is brewed well. I mean, I can screw this up every day and put too much water and it's too watery, but this is just a full, flavorful cup of coffee.
Their wood-fired coffee can also make it a little easier on the tummy.
Using wood to roast it doesn't change the pH and create that acid, so you don't get that acidic flavor right up front that immediately shuts down your taste buds.
Yep.
So when the acid hits that, it just shuts you down, and you only get forward flavor. You don't get to enjoy the whole flavor profile.
It took some effort and attempts to get Bohemian Roastery to where they are now.
If I hadn't gotten those first 2 really good batches, and I would have burned the beans and just one after the other, I probably would have not done it.
Just threw in the towel.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, forget it. Yeah. But
Yeah.
lucky for us, you got a couple good ones.
I got suckered into it.
You can find Bohemian Roastery on the shelves at local stores and markets across Central Oregon.